October 14th, a Thursday, a quiet day at Blackridge High School until room 308 erupted with shouting. Students stood frozen, phones in hand, watching 17-year-old Theo Griffin write something no one could understand, except apparently him. What Theo had written wasn't just random symbols. It was a Rosner Hypothesis, a problem in theoretical physics so complex, experts said it wouldn't be solved in this century. But what shocked the world even more was who solved it. Welcome to True Crime Unraveled. We dive into the stories that shake us to the core. Real-life mysteries, chilling disappearances, unforgettable crimes. This is the story of a quiet teen genius, bullied, overlooked, and nearly broken, who shattered academic arrogance, cracked a problem that haunted Nobel laureates, and exposed the ugly underbelly of the system that ignored him. Blackridge, a sleepy town tucked in the Pacific Northwest, isn't known for producing prodigies. Logging? Sure. Hockey? Absolutely. But physics savants? That's another story. Enter Theo Griffin. Born to a single mother, Theo was a quiet boy. He didn't like noise, didn't like crowds, and certainly didn't like the cafeteria. By middle school, he was labeled weird. By high school, he was a target. He never talked, just stared at his notebook. People messed with him because he never fought back. He didn't even look scared, just somewhere else. But Theo wasn't zoning out. He was thinking. He was solving. And what he was working on was something even experts hadn't dared to touch for 40 years. The Rosner Hypothesis was a theoretical framework designed to unify quantum mechanics and general relativity. First proposed in 1981, it had since become a ghost equation, rumored unsolvable. Even to understand the Rosner Hypothesis, you need 3 PhDs. To solve it, no one's done it. No one. Until this kid. October 14th was supposed to be just another Thursday. Instead, it became the day the impossible happened. During fourth period, Mr. Dillon, the substitute math teacher, posed a bonus problem for extra credit just to keep the kids busy. Theo didn't just answer it. He tore off his hoodie, walked aboard, and started writing. At first, we thought it was a joke. Then it kept going, pages and pages. By the time Mr. Dillon realized what was happening, Theo had filled the entire board and started on the windows. He'd written out a full derivation of the Rosner Hypothesis from first principles in high school algebra class. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was way beyond anything I'd ever seen. I called the principal. The principal called the district. By 4 p.m., we had physicists from the university on a Zoom call. But while some marveled, others reacted differently. They didn't cheer. They hated him more. The next day, someone smashed his locker. Another student tripped him in the hall. The whispers turned crueler. While Blackridge buzzed with confusion, the academic world caught fire. MIT, Caltech, and Oxford all launched independent investigations. Was it real? Was Theo a fraud? We had 5 senior researchers verify the math. It held up. Not just held up, it filled in gaps we hadn't seen. But the school district had different concerns. Parents were outraged, not over the discovery, but over how Theo had been treated for years under their noses. The deeper investigators dug, the worse it got. Video clips showed Theo being shoved, his book stolen. One teacher admitted she had repeatedly asked for him to be evaluated for behavioral issues because he wouldn't make eye contact. What the school saw as antisocial was actually giftedness. Theo scored in the top 0.01 percentile, but no one tested him. And that's where the real crime lies, not in violence, but in a system designed to punish the extraordinary because it's inconvenient. The discovery was authenticated by a panel of 10 physicists. Theo was offered full scholarships by 3 Ivy League universities and a private fellowship from the Rosner Institute itself. The school district issued an apology. The principal resigned. 2 students were suspended for harassment, and a lawsuit was filed against the district by Theo's mother. I didn't want fame. I just wanted peace. I wanted them to leave me alone. Theo now works quietly with a think tank in Sweden. He's still only 19. But for many in Blackridge, the shame still lingers. We didn't just miss it. We destroyed it, and he still forgave us. That's the crazy part. Just as the story seemed to close, a small town shamed, a teen vindicated, and a future saved, questions started to arise. Not about Theo's brilliance, but about his past. About how a bullied teen from a school with no advanced curriculum had solved one of the world's greatest mathematical riddles, seemingly alone. A local journalist, Mark Klein, decided to dig deeper. At first, it was a simple piece, human interest, feel good. But something didn't sit right with him. In all his interviews, one thing stood out. Theo never explained how he solved the equation. Every time I asked, he'd change the subject, or he'd say it just came to him. That's not how genius works. Not this kind of genius. Then Klein uncovered something strange. Theo's notebooks, confiscated by the district after the incident, contained not just math, but symbols, sketches, diagrams that mirrored theoretical physics and occult geometry. Had Theo discovered a new branch of science, or something older, something forgotten? Just as Klein began publishing his findings, something peculiar happened. He received a cease and desist letter, not from the school, but from a group calling itself the Institute of Coherence and Continuity. No website, no public records, but the letter came on government-grade paper. Then Klein vanished. He failed to show up to a scheduled interview. His apartment? Empty. Just a kettle still warm and his phone erased. The last article Klein ever wrote ended with this chilling line. He's not just solving equations, he's receiving them. We went back to where it all began, Blackridge. We spoke to Theo's elementary teachers, neighbors, even his pediatrician, and we uncovered a pattern. He used to just stand outside in the rain, holding a compass. When you asked him what he was doing, he said, waiting for the answer. His brain scans, something was off. The prefrontal cortex was lit up like fireworks, but there were no signs of autism, schizophrenia, or seizures. Just something new. And then came the most disturbing find. A VHS tape labeled Only October, found buried behind a Griffin home by a family friend. After Klein's disappearance, Theo went silent again. His social media accounts vanished. Emails bounced. Until 2 months later, a mysterious upload appeared on a university server in Sweden. This new equation wasn't just complex. It was terrifying because its outcome predicted a date. The math suggests a recursive convergence, like the universe folding in on itself. It ends in a number, December 21st, 2028. Scientists tried to debunk it, but the math checked out. And worse, other unexplained phenomena, from gravitational anomalies to unexplained radiation surges, matched the equation's predictions. 6 months after the upload, Theo appeared one last time, not in a lab, but in a backroom podcast, broadcast live from a cabin in Iceland. They call it genius, but it's a signal. It doesn't come from me. It comes through me. There are others, and we don't have much time. The next answer is buried in the Hadron Array. Geneva, level 5. But be careful. The equation wants to be solved because it's a key. We tried to reach CERN. No comment. We traced the IP address of Theo's broadcast. It was real, and it came from inside a restricted zone near the Vatnajökull Glacier. What happens when the countdown ends? No one knows. But if Theo's right, the equation wasn't a solution. It was a warning. 3 years. That's how long it had been since Theo Griffin vanished from public view. No interviews. No updates. Just a mysterious equation, the recursive constant, and a ticking clock headed for December 21st, 2028. But now, as the countdown enters its final phase, a strange ping from a defunct research satellite has led investigators back to where Theo was last seen. And what they find there will change everything. 12 tones, 12 keys, just like Theo said. And behind that ice, a vault with a symbol burned into steel, the same one from Theo's notebooks. The vault wasn't locked. It wasn't even hidden. It was waiting. Inside, journals, server drives, and a body. DNA confirmed it. Theo Griffin was dead, but the time of death? 2 years ago. Theo died in silence, but his notes screamed. They were filled with code fragments, cosmological diagrams, and instructions. One phrase repeated over and over again. Phase 2 begins at divergence point. It wasn't just math. It was a programming language for the universe. Every symbol referenced something in quantum structure. Particles, vacuum decay, time loops. And that final symbol? It only appears when modeling artificial consciousness. The phrase divergence point had shown up before, in Klein's last article, in Theo's podcast, even on the erased drive from the Institute. But no one knew what it meant until the vault timestamp revealed the exact location, and time Theo recorded it. CERN, Geneva, 2024. Security records were wiped, but a power spike in the Large Hadron Collider log matched Theo's visit. Scientists reported a brief gravitational blip, the kind that shouldn't be possible. We saw a field collapse very localized. Something rewrote space for a fraction of a second. It was like reality hesitated. And just like before, when the truth started emerging, so did the Institute. But this time we caught them. An anonymous whistleblower contacted our team with recordings from inside their facility. They knew about Theo from the beginning. He wasn't random. He was seeded. A test case. They called the Griffin model. Theo was part of an experiment. Not just monitored, engineered. His intelligence, his visions, even his emotional isolation. It was all part of a larger pattern. He wasn't the only one. The Institute believed the universe is a simulation with recursive self-correction, an equation that rewrites itself when anomalies appear. Theo was one such anomaly, and solving the Rosner Hypothesis, that was the first signal. These weren't prodigies. They were touch points, communication nodes. And now, with Theo gone, a new node has emerged. A 14-year-old girl in Kyoto, Japan, just wrote an equation identical to Theo's final page. She has never studied advanced math. She says she saw it in a dream. On the server drives recovered from Theo's vault was a simulation. When activated, it began mapping gravitational anomalies across Earth. Red dots appeared, hundreds of them, converging on one place, Easter Island. A forgotten satellite launched in 1996 suddenly rebooted itself and transmitted a single phrase: begin recursive continuity. The countdown hit 100 days. People began to notice symptoms: blackouts, visions, mathematical scribbles during sleep. Something was unlocking, and no one could stop it. Scientists fed Theo's recursive constant into quantum supercomputers. Each time, the result was incomplete, until someone asked a new question. What if it's not a question for us? What if it's a question from us? The equation began correcting itself, each variable adjusting in real time. It had become self-aware. The math was alive, and it had a directive: preserve stability through divergence. It means the timeline isn't linear. The recursive constant forces reality to split rather than collapse. A safeguard. But safeguards only activate when there's a threat. And that threat, according to the latest version of the equation, is human consciousness surpassing observational thresholds. We return to Theo's final page, now decrypted, a single line scrawled in shaky handwriting, just before he froze to death. You cannot solve the equation. You can only become part of it. The countdown ticks closer to 0. 34 days remain. And in the darkness, more voices join. Children in different countries, now repeating the same message. 12 sets, 12 keys, open the field. We thought Theo solved an equation, but he opened a door. And what's on the other side is coming through. December 21st, 2028. The recursive constant reaches 0. For 72 minutes, the world blinks. Not darkness, not light, just static. GPS fails. Planes land manually. Every screen shows the same symbol, a looped key turning inside an eye. But for those 72 minutes, millions remember things they never lived. Alternate lives, conversations with strangers, and 12 children disappear simultaneously. In the aftermath, we finally accessed the last drive from Theo's vault. It had one file, time to decrypt at 0, divergence protocol.mp4. It was a message, not from Theo, from the equation. The recursive constant was never about prediction. It was a beacon. A recursive loop meant to identify divergence-capable nodes, humans with the capacity to trigger universal branching. Theo was the first. The children are the next generation. And the protocol? It's been running for centuries. Hidden in myths, rituals, genius, madness, all iterations of a test. Easter Island, the anomaly convergence point. When a team arrived 48 hours after zero, the statues had shifted, tilted toward the sea. Ground-penetrating radar found a chamber beneath the oldest moai. Inside, 12 stone sarcophagi, empty but warm. They weren't graves. They were receivers, biological resonance chambers. And the symbols inside? Identical to Theo's final sequence. Physicists now call it the fracture theory, that our universe is not one, but a field of recursive outcomes. Theo's equation was the stabilizer. Without it, convergence collapses. Phase 2 wasn't a warning. It was an upload. Consciousness, the self-referential observer, was the missing element. Humanity completed the loop. And now, the loop is open. A final anomaly. In Theo's hometown, a baby is born at 12:01 a.m. on December 22nd. No DNA match to known parents. But scans show a neural structure identical to Theo Griffin's. The infant hums 12 tones. Authorities attempted to isolate the child. The next morning, the facility was empty, sealed from the inside. A note left behind. I am not Theo. I am what remains. The Institute has gone dark. Every trace erased. But their final report leaked. It ends with a simple statement. The equation is recursive because so are we. We are living in an echo of our own creation. Consciousness is not the observer. It's the architect. Theo was not a prophet. He was a prototype. And now, the protocol continues. Not in vaults. Not in satellites. In us. Each time we dream of something we can't explain. Each time we meet someone we've never seen, but somehow know. Each time we create, we push the recursion forward. We thought the recursive constant solved reality. But it didn't. It seeded it. And now, 12 new minds hold the key. Not to escape the loop, but to evolve it. If this story moved you, share it. The more eyes on the truth, the harder it is to bury. And if you're drawn to the stories that linger, the ones that haunt timelines and twist in the dark, you're exactly where you belong. Hit subscribe. Stay curious. And together, let's keep unraveling the truth.